aboard! Hello and welcome to another episode of the Woodsman Whack-Off, the series that puts two woodsmen face to face to see which competitor can whack off their log the fastest. In today's episode, we have two excellent specimens of the chainsaw community. On the lightweight end of the spectrum, we have the Husqvarna 365 Xtra Special, as I like to call it. This here chainsaw is no average setup. It was originally built by Eric Topsy of EC Saws in Ohio. This saw was built to be as fast as a 4-cube race saw can possibly be on regular gasoline. It is a 65cc screamer for sure. The heavyweight contender of this whack-off event tips the scales at almost 81 cc's. That's a big difference for a little saw to go up against. And it's also been significantly built as well, but for a slightly different style of racing. Built by Cajun, this here 281 XP was built to be used as a firewood race saw, not a full-on racer by any means, but a big strong saw to turn higher RPM while still maintaining good torque and solid build quality for work saw duty. Our operators of the day are Soft Hand Steve. Soft Hand Steve is actually a big hit with the ladies because they like his thoughtfulness and soft hands. That is, until the first bedroom session where he regularly sobs post-coitus. Next up, Benford Bad Boy. Benford was once asked to show emotion by his lady, where he quickly responded, "I hate you right now." Oh, okay, well, let's whack off.
Hey, Benford.
What's up, Steve?
Yeah, I was wondering maybe if, can I try and run Bobby Boucher?
I don't think you want a piece of Bobby Boucher.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Bobby Boucher, he's a gentle little guy, kind of like me.
Bobby Boucher's angry, Steve.
I'd really like to try, if that's okay.
All right, if you can pull it, you can run it.
Okay, all right, cool. Oh, my soft hands!
I tried to warn you. Yeah, maybe you better run the 365 special.
Okay. Here.
Right.
I don't want none of Bobby Boucher.
Okay.
Pussy.
Benford doesn't have any problem starting up the 281. And they're both revving them up, getting them ready. Boy, they both sound good. Here we go for the gentle glide down the shaft. Whoa, look at those chips fly. My goodness, old Soft Hand Steve has never ran anything like that. And my gosh, that was a close race. But the 365 Xtra Special takes it on the glide down the shaft. Woo! Here we go for the tug-up. And digging in, just again throwing chips. Oh, Benford got a dog stuck a little bit. Steve doesn't have to worry about that. His is smooth. Oh, and boy, it pretty easily, the 365 pretty easily took it on the tug-up there. And here we go for the vice grip. Buzzsaw digging in. We had a little stumble there from Benford. And whoa, Steve's is sounding funny. It looks like, my gosh, Steve's is just running fat as can be. Something's wrong there. Oh well, it looks like Benford takes that one. But, as it is, best 2 out of 3. The winner goes to the 365 Xtra Special. Both saws put up a good fight, but clearly, that there little 365 Husky is turning some serious RPMs, and it had good torque too. Now let's see what Bodie has to say about it. So, there you have it. It's been a while since we had a good whack-off, and this one can't get mixed up with any of the other whack-offs, really. It's a one-off because, I like keeping it at 14 by 14. You know the drill if you watch the channel. But I don't have another 14 by 14 can't just yet. So anyways, we got to see something going on there. How'd you like Steve about ripping the calluses off of his hands, huh? If we haven't been there, then you haven't pulled a saw with high compression. So that 281, and I got to address this. I know that the sticker on the 281 says 288 XP Lite. It's not. It's a 281. Anyways, that was just put on there by somebody. You know, it was just put on there. I want to show you this real quick. Look. So I'm surprised it isn't bruised more, but this is from putting that 281 between my legs to pull it. Man. So, but talk about the race. So it was up in the air which saw was going to be faster. And well, this put that to rest. That 365 is definitely faster, and that's in great big red oak. So at races, you're running in smaller pine. I think this is like a straight up like 17 inches of red oak, whereas in a race, probably usually, especially for a 4 cube, the biggest you're going to run in it is like 12 inches of pine or poplar or something like that, you know. And so what that means is the margin of speed will be, you know, I mean, the 365 will be even faster because it was never intended to have torque to go through a big chunk of oak like that. You know, that's not what it was meant for. It was meant to carry really, really, really high RPMs. But the fact that it can carry RPMs through that big of a cut in oak, that saw is strong. You know, a lot of people say a lot of different things about high exhaust roof and how you lose torque and everything. And yeah, I know it to be truth and everything. But you go so far to that end of the spectrum, they just have power, man. They run. I don't know what the timing numbers on this are, but I imagine it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 on the exhaust roof and probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 on the intake. And it's just being flooded and gushed with gasoline. And I for one, am, yes, this is, I will say, the first saw that I was not expecting it to be that fast. This is as fast as I would expect it to be running nitromethane or whatever alternative fuel. That thing is fast, man. Fast, fast, fast. And in a 10 or 12 inch chunk of pine with a race chain, yeah, this is a saw that goes, meh, meh, meh. Really, that thing's fast. I'm really shocked that it's as fast as it is, considering it's only on gasoline. So this is the first time that I've had a saw truly shock me. I've had fun saws and been like, what? You know, every time you see that reaction, it's legit, it's real. But at the same time, most everything it's just a chainsaw. You know, it's just a chainsaw. Nothing goes really too far out of the norm from in my experience. Even the bike saw of Grant's. Now, yes, it was a lot to take in. It was. But I expected that. I mean, you've got a dirt bike or a four-wheeler engine on that thing that you're picking up and throwing into the wood. It didn't blow my mind because my mind was prepared for that. It was fun. It was wild. It was crazy. It was a really wild ride. It was really awesome. But I expected it. This 365, I didn't expect that. That was cool. That was a very cool experience because I've started getting pretty jaded on the powerful saw thing because they all feel pretty much the same. I mean, you know, I ran all of Charles Briscoe's saws and they all felt good. All of them, they felt really good. I don't want to color this in a different, but it's just a good strong work saw. That's it, you know. Cajun's 281. It feels really good, but at the end of the day, it's just a real good, strong work saw. It's not like he reinvented what it means to be a chainsaw. No, I mean, it still just is what it is. But whenever you get something that is as lightweight and small as that little 365, and it's turning out the power of a 100cc saw. That was surprising. And yes, it's 100cc. It's turning out the power of a 100cc saw. That Cajun built 281, right, is probably going to run right straight neck and neck with a 660, let's say. That's 92 cc's. So that's an impressive build that he made. That is very good. It's an impressive build. But, you know, it's still a big 81cc saw, and it's as strong as a 92, 94cc saw. Okay, great. You know, that's what I'm talking about. It's cool. It's a good, strong saw. Runs great. But is it going to blow your mind? No. That 365 blows your mind because that's 65 cc's and it's as strong as 100 cc's. Now, of course, something was going on. The previous owner already contacted me. He saw the video and he was like, you might want to look into that carburetor. I definitely will look into that. But he feels like it's just dumping fuel, like something's wrong, something's stuck, that's keeping something open or something, and it's just dumping fuel. So might just need to clean up that carburetor, see what's going on. But he's like, yeah, it's definitely not supposed to do that. And I'm certain it's going to be something pretty simple. I mean, it's just, but if you're ever asking or wondering to yourself, if you're ever thinking, well, why don't we try and get all saws to be as fast as that race saw? Because clearly it had torque too. Yeah, that's what, tying it back in. A lot of people with the, talking about the really excessively high exhaust roof, you lose torque and all that stuff. Yeah, I get it, but this thing still had plenty of torque. For a 65cc saw, it was, you know, it was good, eating it up, man. So if it's got that much torque and that much speed, why don't we make work saws like this? Because the thing didn't even make it a third cut. You know, it barely made it a second. If you saw my original video of my first run of this, I started having problems with it. They're finicky. You can't start up one of these things and go out there and cut wood for even an hour. You can't do it. You'll burn it up. They're not meant for that at all. They will overheat or something else will happen, such as the carburetor just all of a sudden starts flowing fuel like madness. So that's why we don't even consider building saws like this. Not only is it really expensive to build this kind of saw, or if you're building it yourself, very time consuming, but it also just doesn't work out unless you're using this as a race saw. Thing didn't want to do anything really but run wide open throttle. And whenever it didn't get that, something went wrong. I don't know. I've got to look into it. It's not a big deal. Might just be a fouled plug. And then since it wasn't burning off the fuel, it was spitting back like crazy. It was, whenever it ran good, it wasn't spitting back like much at all. So it was taking it. It was taking it good. However, once it got loaded up on me and flooded out, it was not burning all that fuel. And if it's not burning all that fuel, then every time that piston comes in and it swallows more fuel, then you're just compounding the amount of fuel that is inside the cylinder. And so there's no room for the fresh charge to come in, so it gets pushed back out the carburetor. That's your spit back. And it covered my hand. It just was, I was wet, you know. And so yeah, that's why you don't run one of these things. Fell in a tree or in the wood. They're not good, solid performers. Whenever they perform, they are fast as could be. But you know, yeah. But it's an interesting race. Two saws, both of them were built as race saws, but two very different kinds of racing. The 365, that's full tilt race saw, and it doesn't have very much compression at all. We're talking, I bet you 160 pounds. I bet you it doesn't have much compression at all. Maybe a little bit more than that, maybe. But there's no need to use that compression release. And I did notice, even whenever you do use the compression release on the first pull, like as soon as you pull it, it pops the compression release. So I would have to modify that, but it's completely unneeded. You can snatch at no problem. But the one Cajun built, on the other hand, now so if the one that Cajun built, the 281, if it had been faster than this 365, then I would be running it in real races where you have to do cold starts, where you have to be able to reach down there, snatch it and start it and put it in the wood. That ain't happening with this saw. I pretty much don't care who you are. It's not happening. That saw staying on the ground while you pull start it, like I said, no, I can't see that happening. Just can't see it. No way. It requires a lot of force, and you'd be just incapable of holding it down with one hand while you pulled with the other and it worked smooth. It just, no. So I was thinking about putting a compression release on it so that it would be easier to start and things like that. But not needed, because now we see this 365 is actually faster than it. And like I said, in a real chunk of chunk of pine that is made, a 12-inch piece of pine or whatever, that is what is used at real races, that 365 will zing right through it before the 281 even got started. So that being said, there's no reason now to put a compression release in the 281, because the 281 will only be ran at get-togethers, and typically on those, it is a hot start where the saw is already running before you pick it up and put it in the wood. So there's just no point in putting a compression release, and it's fun to watch people try and pull it. I mean, it is very fun. It does get significantly easier to pull once it heats up, like every saw does. Once it gets good and warm and everything's loose in there and expanded and stuff, sweet. It's not nearly as bad to start. But cold, shoo. So yeah, at my little get together, nobody was able to start it. I mean, a couple people didn't try, I will say that, but only one guy really tried hard, and that's Justin. Justin really tried, and yeah, he couldn't get it to go. But he he should have pulled a couple more times. I had the luxury of him being the first one to pull on it and get all the fuel primed. And so after him, I was able to pull on it just a couple times and it started. But yeah, so honestly, I will leave it without the compression release, because it's fun to watch people yank on it and go, oh. And they look at me, what the heck? Yep, tried to tell you. It'll rip the calluses right off your hands. I mean, it's strong. Anyways, that's enough. I hope you enjoyed the whack off, and I'm out.